So please help me welcome to the stage a Jamf customer, member of Jamf Nation, Director of Enterprise Mobility and pretty much everything awesome from American Airlines, Charles Secure.
That's proud. That's proud. Good morning, Jamf Nation. How are you doing today? Going good? All right, listen, I'm really excited to be here to share with you our journey throughout the decade. You know, American Airlines has a history of innovation in the technology space. Mobility is no exception. The slide you're seeing here is a synopsis of what we've gone through for the last 10 years or so, and showing you reflecting of refresh cycles throughout the time. We started with our flight attendants in 2006, and by 2011, we started expanding our mobility footprint across our pilots, our mechanics, and our gate agents. Now, one thing I want to just show you, the trend worth noting here, is that we've pivoted to iOS the last few years. It's not a coincidence. There is a rationale behind it, and I'll share with you some insight. From a flight attendant perspective, we started introducing actually in-flight sales recorder. It was a purpose-built device that had a printer attached to it. Back in 2006, it worked very, very well for us. And by 2011, we deployed our very first purpose-built information on customer experience. We had a plethora of information that we provided at the fingertips of our flight attendants using, at the time, Samsung Note 1 series. It was an Android platform. It worked quite well for us. And we had several refresh cycles since. And this year, we actually deployed our very first iPhone 12s to our flight attendants, about 45,000 flight attendants using it today. We provided a new chip and pin transactions technology stack. We've also improved the customer experience, and as well as providing access to our flight attendant bidding access tools that they used. On the flight side, in 2010, we envisioned a digital flight bag. So we partnered with the FAA, and then by 2013, we were the very first commercial company to have a full-fledged iPad EFB program in the industry. On the tech ops side, which is actually our mechanics, we deployed the very first digital flight bag, the aircraft manual on the Android Tab 1 Samsung 10-inch tablet. We had several refresh cycles of the Android, and on May of 2021, we pivoted to iOS. The iPads are now being used worldwide by all fleets by our mechanics. The next piece that we're doing right now is digitizing the logbook, and that'll be deployed later this year on the iPad, primarily used by our pilots and our mechanics. And lastly, our airport agents. You know, modernizing the airport experience is foundational to what we call Airport of the Future. Our main goal here is to modernize the tool systems so that our agents can interact with the passengers as opposed to transact. And what we've been doing lately is a slow rollout of the iPhone 12s to some of our agents at some of our hubs and spokes. And we've been introducing some intuitive UIs as well, a new business process, as well as sunsetting a lot of legacy monolithic applications that we've been using for about 40 years or so. It's a seamless integration amongst the systems in the back end so that our agents can look at the portal and really engage themselves with the passengers as they're onboarding the airplanes. We've got some great feedback from our agents. A lot of redundant transactions they've done over the years is now eliminated. Our agent training sessions from a cadence and duration perspective has also been diminished. The boarding flexibility has now been expanded, but rather than being tethered at the gate, we're actually going to be able to check people in at the jet bridge, and I've seen some actually on the aircraft. It really has been leading a positive influence between the agent and our passengers boarding. Now, the question is, why did we go with Apple? A few years ago, Boeing made a decision to go with iOS only. So all the mobility applications that they've installed and deployed for us for our cockpit use is now iOS. That kind of put pause for us because our strategy at the time was a hybrid approach. Android, iOS, and it all depends on what product it would make sense to us to use iOS or Android. So we looked at it and we realized, there's a lot of synergies in our work groups. I don't have to deal with different skill sets of developers. I can now assign per product. I don't have to deal with app proliferation, OS versions. All those things are now out of the way. With the Apple platform, I now can leverage new technologies and new business flows. I'm thinking about the Apple Business Manager, the Volume Purchase Program, to name a few. Those are game changers to us. Near day zero feature functionality support is extremely important for our users out there in the frontline employee. Increased user adoption is another thing that we have to work with. As the cockpit flight attendants look at this, they can see it right away. Now, when we look at leveraging this technology, right, it's all good until something goes wrong with reliability. Reliability is super important to us. It's vital to our workforce. And I need trusted partners like Jamf and Apple to support us hand in hand when things go wrong, right? We must have real-time information. It is critical to our operation. Our work groups is 100% mobile. Simply seconds of downtime ripple effects into our operation. It impacts crews, it impacts passengers, there's cancellations, there's delays, there's misconnects, and once in a while, we have the orphan bag out there. So, the future. We have been working very hard on 5G and mobile edge computing. Results the last 6 months to a year has been very, very promising for our app latency issues. Native iOS applications is certainly something we look very forward to. Predictive cellular monitoring, very important to our operation. If I can synthesize and find out predictively that there's a problem with connectivity, I can take a result right away. Apple's new CI/CD pipeline is certainly important to us from a development perspective. And of course, Apple payment options are always forefront for us for ancillary revenues. So to wrap it up, we're mobile. Apple and Jamf are our strategic partners. They own us, they support us for a reliable ecosystem so that our future is bright. Thank you all so much for your time.